The 10-year track, it's a lonely race. Hallelujah. Talking about the constructed one, not what horses run. Hallelujah. Ta-da! See, it's the track is a lonely race. Then I thought maybe not, so when you meet Michael, I think Michael is quite impressive when you first meet him. In addition to all that precedes him, I mean, his career, what he's done, how he's respected, the fact that he is a kind of seminal voice around racial formation in America. All of those things are impressive when you first meet Michael. Also, Michael is cool. It's one of the things you notice about Michael when you meet him. Michael is cool. He also dresses really cool. And I think I heard one of the speakers talk about your Armani suit that you used to lecture in. I think that's pretty interesting. But there are other aspects of Michael that are unseen, which you wouldn't know about unless you shared a particular context with him, other than academia. And context is everything. And so Michael is all that he appears to be. His reputation, all that he's accomplished, how he's respected, the profile he cuts, his hipness and coolness. Michael is all those things. And there's also something more to Michael, also that which is unseen. And you would not be aware of it unless you shared another context with him. So Michael is all that he appears to be and more. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the more part of that. First I remember Michael and I thought we'd talk about, I talked to Michael and I said, Michael, I kind of need to figure out what we're going to talk about. And so we both thought, let's think back to when we first met each other, 40 years ago. And so we tried to think back about how we met 40 years ago, and there was a lot of cobwebs and whatnot there. And what Michael came up with was, after all this time, he said, you drove a red Prelude. That was it. You drove a red Prelude. I said, okay. And then I thought about in terms of what I remember about when I first met Michael. And it was his closet. His closet. I don't know how we got in there, Michael, but this was on Market Street. And Diane and I somehow got in there, and we somehow got into your closet. But if you ever get a chance, take a look at Michael's closet. It is the most remarkable thing you'll ever see. Everything is just organized. Like, I think that the shirts, are they in order of color, Michael? Yeah. And what's really remarkable, what really kind of is etched in my brain, were Michael's shoes. Michael's shoes are so well organized, I thought. And it's sort of like inextricably etched in my brain. And the other thing about Michael is his interest in music. I'm not sure if most of you are aware of this, but Michael has a deep-seated interest in music. And he does come from the Western Addition in San Francisco, which is on the cusp between the Black community and the Japanese American community. And Michael, like any respectable Asian American from San Francisco, was into Motown, soul, R&B. But what's also interesting is that he had another side. So he's interested in R&B, Motown, but he's also interested in country music. Yep. And then particularly country rock. So you have to think in terms of the time period when I first met Michael. This is in the early to mid 70s. You know, all the unrest is happening on campus. All the identity movements are emergent. And Michael, I mean, if you went to a dance, one of those Asian American dances, at like the Poly Ballroom, or I think that's where they were held. But you would not catch them singing like Take It Easy by the Eagles. This is not exactly something you'd hear. So when Michael said to me, I'm interested in country rock, I was especially impressed with him. He didn't run into that many Asian Americans at that time who would admit that openly. But I was duly impressed because I also had an interest in that area. Michael also had the ability to talk about all aspects of the music, the musicians, the songs that were created. And I think this is very in keeping with Michael's kind of intellectual curiosity. A good friend of Michael said he has a lot of trivia in his head about music. And one thing I think is kind of an existential question that I wanted to ask Michael is, and this has been around for a while, and of late there's been a lot of chatter about it, but who was Carly Simon singing about in You're So Vain? Now, are you still staying with Warren Beatty?
I have no idea.
Oh, be careful.
That's a glass-breaking question.
That was shattering. Warren Beatty. I think the vote now is still Warren Beatty, though there was some other speculation about other things. So Michael was into Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, The Four Tops, not the Four Seasons, but also interested in Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt, the Eagles. And there's another element I want to talk about too. First, again, Michael's reputation precedes him. Michael has accomplished remarkable things as an intellectual, as a scholar. He's respected by his peers, beloved by his students. And I think we all acknowledge that. But, and I noticed someone else mentioned this earlier in the room and intimated it. One special trait of Michael is his kindness. Another aspect is Michael's heart. Michael has a very big heart. And I think these are really important elements to any person that you meet. And that is what's special about Michael also. So if I were to describe my meeting of Michael, it would be that you're impressed with him. He cuts a very cool, hip figure. His reputation precedes him. We all are well aware of all that he's accomplished and how he's thought of and respected. And two, he has a big, big heart and kindness. And it's wrapped all in the sartorial, well-coordinated sartorial splendor, yes, masterpiece. I think we can all acknowledge that. So again, Michael, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of more of a personal side to you, and the idea that you do have much to you that is not evident and unseen unless you kind of shift Michael in terms of context. There's much going on with him, and that he is ultimately kind, big-hearted, and all wrapped in sartorial splendor. So Michael, congratulations on your retirement. And now, I believe, Michael, you were going to come up and say a few words first?
Well, first of all, yeah, what a day, huh? I was that room got really hot. I was getting pretty thirsty, as I'm sure many of you were as well. But I do want to really extend my thanks for folks hanging in. I also want to give special acknowledgement to folks who devoted so much time and effort in putting this together, including Deborah Lustig, and my very beloved colleagues, Lak Su and Kataria And thank you for really making this a very special day. You know, I gotta say, at the end of the spring semester, I was approached and said, do you want to have a little retirement party? And believe me, all I wanted was a cocktail reception. And then I said, well, you know, we were sort of just coming out of the throes of COVID in the spring, and I thought COVID was going to go in retreat during that period. So I said, well, let's do it in the fall when I can actually see people in person. Because in fact, I'd been to, I think, 2 or maybe more retirement parties via Zoom, and they just didn't have the same punch, you know, resonance. And it's just really, I know that many of you are out for the first public outing, you know, since the COVID period, so I appreciate you risking that this could be a potential super spreader event and actually coming here. That's really, I really do very much appreciate it. But let me say, really, from the bottom of my heart, it's been a thrill to see you. Although some of you I had to say, get the mask off, or I don't know who you are, and keep talking to me. But that's been very special. And I gotta say, the symposium was very moving. It was both, when I first got who was gonna be here, I must say I was both embarrassed and flattered at the same time to have people come out. And I especially want, you know, acknowledge all the speakers, but particularly those who have come up from afar, Nadia Kim and Jessica Vasquez-Tocos, and also Ed Park, and, you know, people who had flown in. Who else? Linda Vo. Oh, Linda Vo. I'm sorry, Linda. I didn't even see. And Linda Vo from Irvine. It's just been really terrific to hear you. And there's been times where, as you're talking about me, I thought, who are they talking about? There's a kind of momentary thing where so I was trying to figure that out, but it's been really thrilling. And I just want to say that, you know, just a couple of things. I gotta say, I was almost crying when Ed Park was talking about my relationship to students, you know, because I started to think about what am I going to miss the most. And part of that is working with students, both undergrad and graduate, in different ways, you know, because those students have very different demands, and I've been very moved and lucky to work with people, and I've learned from them. And I've also will miss a lot of my colleagues here on campus that I really, you know, there's parts of Berkeley which strike me as an amazing place, and I've gotten to know folks across different programs, departments, and schools that just have really made me think about things I never thought about, and their collegiality, even folks I disagreed with too. I've learned from them. And, you know, with my work with Howie, it will continue. In some guys, we keep arguing every week. We meet every week these days during the pandemic. And, you know, in many respects, my work with Howie, and Howie was right about this towards the ending session, we really, we don't pull racial formation out of thin air. It's really, in fact, the reason why we're able to think about those things is because we pillaged so much which has gone on before us. You know, the adage about the reason why we could see further is because we stood on the shoulders of giants really is key here. We've been able to see farther maybe, or put things together because we've stood on the shoulders of giants, many of you here as well. And the other part of it is with students, to see people, or even not our students, take our stuff and move it in directions we didn't envision, we didn't think about, to think about the racialization of privacy, or to think about, you know, localized forms of racialization in music or whatever. That's been incredibly gratifying, you know, where people take your stuff and critique it or run with it. It's helped, you know, us to reflect and learn about that, but it's also been incredibly gratifying. So, so thank you all, really. Thank you.
Thank you.